We got Colton Pouncy coming up today from The Athletic right here on Locked On Lions and player number 3 on our Pro Bowler list. Here we go.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And everybody, welcome into Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Dery with you on this, a Wednesday, July 13th and a Thursday, July 14th. Thanks for listening, making us your first listen each and every day here on the podcast. Coming up today, Colton Pouncey, the newest Detroit Lions beat writer for The Athletic. Of course, you can read Colton at theathletic.com. He's covered Michigan State over a handful of years and now is moving up to the Lions beat with Chris Burke. Heading to more of an editor's role on their draft coverage. We'll get Colton's thoughts on the Lions and get to meet him a little bit. You're going to be reading him each and every day. So we want to get Colton on the show. This was announced late last week, so we'll get him on momentarily here on the podcast. Also today, player number 3. We've gone Romeo Okwara at 5, Taylor Decker at 4. Who will sit at number 3 on my top 5 list of possible first-time Lions Pro Bowlers? We'll do that coming up momentarily on the show as well. Follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, D-E-R-Y Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page. And, of course, we are with you each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Still haven't gotten to 1,000 yet. I want 1,000 subscribers. Tell your friends if you are watching on YouTube and or you're listening and haven't watched us on YouTube, go to youtube.com, go to Locked On Lions, subscribe so you get the video show each and every day as well. All right, so where are we at here? It is July 13th. We're getting ready for training camp in a couple of weeks. We do this each and every year. My top 5 list of Lions that I think could be a first-time Pro Bowler, excluding this year, Frank Ragnow, Jack Fox, T.J. Hawkinson, Jared Goff, who's been a Pro Bowler with the Rams, and, of course, Jonah Jackson. Hey, how you doing, Jonah? Jonah Jackson, the left guard, who was a alternate last year but made the team as a Pro Bowler when he was added 1 year ago. Those players are all excluded from this list. We're looking for people that have never been Pro Bowlers before that are on the Lions. And we go with the guy at number 1 that we think has the best chance to the guy at number 5 that maybe has the least chance. But these are my top 5 players that I think have a shot. Mentioned on Monday, Romeo Okwara. I think he's got a shot at number 5. Number 4, Taylor Decker. Seems like he's on the list every year. Number 3, coming in at number 3 on my list today is cornerback Amani Oruwariye. Now, some of you are going to say, now, wait a minute, Amani Oruwariye would make your top 5? He might not even play that much this year if Jeff Okudah comes back and they signed Mike Hughes. And what about Jerry Jacobs? And what about Melifonwu and Will Harris? There is some competition at cornerback. But I'm a big fan of Amani Oruwariye, the third-year cornerback from Penn State. I understand that our friends at Pro Football Focus, no bigger PFF slappy than me, did not exactly rate Oruwariye very highly last year. In fact, last season he was the 79th highest-rated cornerback, the 79th rated cornerback at PFF, coming in with a season grade of 59.0. So there were 78 better cornerbacks last year, according to PFF, than Amani Oruwariye. So I look at it and go, he's a third-year player. But a year ago, 6 interceptions, 11 passes defended. He got hurt at the end of the year and missed, I think, the last 3 games. But was third in the league in INTs in going through week 15 before the injury. I just think he's rangy. I think he's a good ball hawk. I think he's where the receiver usually is. Doesn't get beat a ton. I wouldn't say he's the fastest guy by any stretch, or maybe not even the best cornerback on this team by the end of the season. What if Okudah turns out to be good? What if a guy like Mike Hughes, who PFF graded very highly last year, comes in and plays more reps? I just like Amani. I think number 24 is a really good football player, and this could be a year with a better secondary around him, with a better pass rush in front of him, led by Aiden Hutchinson, a healthy Romeo Okwara, Josh Pascal, Charles Harris, you name it, that Amani Oruwariye has a chance, if he accumulates the interceptions like Trayvon Diggs last year did for the Cowboys, of making the Pro Bowl. So I think Amani's got a shot. And he made number 3 on my list in the top 5 possible first-time Pro Bowlers for the Lions. Colton Pouncy is going to join us next. If you have thoughts on Amani, hit me up on Twitter at Dery Speaks or at Locked On Lions on Twitter. And, of course, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page. Our show today is brought to you by Dave. And you're saying, Dave, level with me. We've all been in a situation at some point in our lives when we're a little tight on cash, right? Maybe you can only afford to put a few gallons of gas in your tank, or you got another save the date. You're wondering how you're going to afford to get that gift. That is where our friends at Dave can help you. Dave is a banking app that can help you get to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill your tank, buy your wedding gift, catch up on bills, whatever you need. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hang-ups with Dave. No interest, no credit check needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch, need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from future you. Download that Dave app from your app store right now on your phone. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Future you will thank you with our friends at Dave. All right, as promised, we finally got a hold of this guy. He's elusive, but he's in town and here. He's a new beat writer for the Lions for theathletic.com. Has been with The Athletic covering the Michigan State Spartans, both football and basketball. Colton Pouncey is our guest today here on Locked On Lions. What's up, Colton?
Not much. It's good to be here. Finally settled in Detroit. So, looking forward to get going.
When did this all go down? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so, I've been covering Michigan State for the last 4 years for The Athletic. Was hired in June 2018. And it's been awesome covering Michigan State. Kind of added the basketball beat to my plate this past season. Was doing football all 4 years. But really, I would say in like February, March is when The Athletic kind of reached out to me and said, hey, I think, we want to move you to, I think at that time we were thinking like NBA or NFL, get you up to a pro beat. And I'd always kind of leaned towards NFL. Like, I think that's always been a goal of mine to cover the NFL. So I think from there, it was just kind of about finding the right fit. They had some beats that were open at the time. And kind of later in the process, I would say more around like May is when the Lions possibility became, somewhat attainable. Chris Burke, our Lions writer, he was thinking about transitioning to our NFL draft coverage and kind of overseeing that vertical is what we call it. Nick Baumgartner, who also covered the Lions, he was thinking about doing the same thing, kind of join that team as a writer. So that kind of paved the way for me to join the Lions beat. We were kind of in discussions for a little bit about, just kind of getting the details hammered out. But yeah, I would say in June, it kind of became official and we're waiting for the right time to announce it. And that came early July. So here I am. We still got a couple more weeks till training camp, but yeah, I'm excited.
No, congratulations. Read your stuff, obviously. I'm a subscriber. I think The Athletic does a fantastic job. And I guess going from college to the pros, it sounds like you're ready for it. And, the way Mel Tucker ran MSU the last couple of years was very professional, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that probably you can, chalk that up to his NFL background. He kind of knows how this relationship type of thing is going to go. He was probably more open than most college coaches are. They tend to be more secretive, but, he's pretty laid back. He'll have a conversation with you. He has his own style for sure, but, I think covering him was probably a pretty good preparation for me, going through the NFL. I'm looking forward to that because, open locker rooms are going to be back. I think that'll be, a pretty interesting situation, getting to see those guys on a daily basis, not having to go through, an SID as much for stories and just kind of going, person to person, face to face with these guys, I think will be pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to for sure. Probably a bit of a more professional setting with, coaching staffs understanding, we have a job to do. They have a job to do. So I think it'll be a good deal. I've talked to Nick Baumgartner and Chris Burke about what to expect from the Lions, and they seem pretty open with reporters and kind of the relationship is pretty good. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So I think it'll be a good deal.
How much did you think about living in Lansing, just the landscape of the coverage? Because certainly, and I've been in Detroit now over 25 years, the coverage is slanted to the other school. It just is. I mean, people want Michigan coverage. And I think that MSU fans over the last few years have kind of gotten, not saying they get the shaft, but their football program has been on par, if not better than Michigan's. How much of that Michigan State coverage angle and sort of, routine did you have to kind of learn about?
It's something I definitely did learn about once I got here. I didn't really know too much of it beforehand because, I grew up in Illinois and wasn't really familiar with the whole Michigan State dynamic other than watching them from afar. But I would say coming to Lansing, you definitely can tell that they feel slighted by coverage, maybe leaning towards Michigan. I've heard the blue wall phrase a little bit tossed my way a couple times.
Yes,
So I don't know. Yeah. So I think my mindset coming in 4 years ago was, hey, I'm hired to cover Michigan State. I'm going to cover Michigan State to the best of my ability. I'm here to serve the readers because they're paying money to read my work. They're paying money to subscribe to our website. So I want to get them, their money's worth. And that was kind of my approach to it. So I'd say my first year, I really tried to dive into traditions and rivalries and, the storytelling aspect of things. Like one of the first stories I wrote, I went to a few bars in East Lansing and just talked to the owners about what it's like on a game day, because this was back in like July 2018. So they're still, a couple months away from the season starting. So I was just talking about their process and, what that was like during game days, what to expect in, the fall come game time. And I thought that was pretty interesting to kind of get their perspective. During the season that year, I actually I guess there's a tradition where the MSU marching band kind of protects the Sparty statue on campus during Michigan State week. So I spent a couple hours with the students out there and just asked them, why are you doing this? What is this like? What are you getting out of this? And they're basically like, this is like a tradition for us. And we feel like we're a part of the rivalry in a way just by being out here. So I would say definitely my mindset coming in, once I learned that maybe they felt a little slighted for whatever reason, was just to come in and kind of serve those readers and serve Michigan State fans and, basically show them that I'm here for them. And that was kind of my mindset coming in.
I love it. Colton Pouncy with us from The Athletic, the new Lions beat writer. Will be taking over soon here once training camp starts. Give me a mentor or two that you've looked up to that you can maybe model yourself after and who's helped you throughout the process.
Ooh, that's a good question. A mentor. I have a lot of them. Some at The Athletic, which I don't know, Detroit fans may or may not know, but Marcus Thompson, he covers the Golden State Warriors for The Athletic. I think he's one of the best sports writers in the country. Does a great job.
Scribe. Oh yeah.
Yep. He's a great dude too. He's always been super helpful for me. Craig Custance is the one who hired me at The Athletic. He's kind of, it's funny because back then when I was hired, he was running the Detroit side only. He's just only got promoted year after year. So now he's one of our editorial directors at The Athletic. He oversees a few different sports, not just NHL, not just the Detroit site. I think he does some college football stuff too. So, he's a mentor. He's someone I can talk to at any point. I mentioned Nick Baumgartner. He's one of the smartest football minds we have on staff at The Athletic and one of the smartest minds that I've been around in my career. So I pick his brain a lot. And then Brendan Quinn at The Athletic, who's just unreal. And he was covering Michigan State basketball for a while.
The best.
And it was so tough coming in as a 23-year-old, and that dude's covering the basketball side and I'm covering the football side of Michigan State, and just trying to, every story's getting compared to him. Just oh man, I'm not going to stand a chance on this beat. But he's an awesome dude. And, he actually hit me up a couple of days ago to congratulate me on the Lions beat. So those are some of my mentors and some of the writers I look up to for sure.
I love it. And, I guess, pro sports is kind of the place to be. I mean, covering the NFL, there's not many of these jobs out there, Colton, right? And
right.
I don't know if you said you grew up in Illinois, if you were a Bears fan or what, you got to give me that info, but NFL is the ultimate spot, isn't it?
I think so. I remember, I think I decided probably my freshman year of college that I wanted to get into the writing side. I knew I wanted to do some sort of journalism, whether it was broadcast or writing. I kind of steered towards the writing side of things and the storytelling aspect. And that's kind of what I focused on in college. And I kind of knew back then covering the NFL is kind of where I see myself. I played football in high school. I wasn't very good, which is probably why I became a writer in the first place. And, I've loved the NFL. I've watched it growing up. I did watch the Bears as a kid. I wouldn't really call myself a fan right now. I'm just general football fan now.
Gotcha.
But I've always loved the NFL. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, like covering Michigan State was awesome, and I'll never forget that time. But, that was always a goal of mine, and I'm glad that it's finally here.
Colton Pouncy with us, the new beat writer for the Lions for theathletic.com. Please, if you can, subscribe. Their stuff is fantastic. Coming up next, we're going to ask him. He gets to now be in front of Dan Campbell every day. And, of course, the all of a sudden a resurgent and trendy Detroit Lions. We'll ask him about that coming up next. Colton Pouncy with us from The Athletic. Going to cover the Lions now, take over for our buddy Chris Burke, who is moving into an editor's spot. All right, Colton. So what have you heard? What's everybody whispering and telling you about coming to 222, as I like to call it, 222 Rodwood Drive there in Allen Park?
Yeah, it was interesting. I actually got a chance to go there before it was official, before we actually announced it. I was there in I think their last open day of OTAs, in mid-June. That was an interesting day to be there because it was their last practice for the media open. They were doing the media combine, so all the reporters were out there trying to punts and kick field goals, and I don't know. I think they have a par 3 course in the back of the facility, which I had no idea about. That's pretty cool. So they're all busy with that. While I'm just trying to stay low key, hide from the cameras because it wasn't official yet. But we did get a chance to kind of hear from some of the coaching staff, and just talking to some people. It seems like Dan Campbell has respect of that team and that locker room. He's done it in short order. Whether it was when he was a player, as an assistant coach, and now a head coach, it seems like that's kind of been the talking point, that he can command an NFL locker room. Those guys respect him. They're going to go out to play for him. I'm interested to hear from him a little bit more. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him too much. Hopefully get a chance before training camp just to get a little bit personally. But, those are some of my early impressions for sure. And the team has a lot of interesting young pieces. Hopefully we'll get to dive into that a little bit more in the next few weeks. But I don't know. I would say the Lions kind of remind me of Michigan State. When Mel Tucker came in, it was pretty interesting in 2020 when he came in because things were kind of shut down at the time. Couldn't really install anything. But the general sense was Mel Tucker is one of those guys that can command a locker room, that's going to get the attention of his players and everything. His coaching staff respects him. He's going to come in and do things his way. And year run for them, they went 2-5, but it was kind of about laying that foundation. And you saw some pieces to build around. You saw some of the scheme things kind of playing out. And I think you saw the same thing with some of the Lions games last year. I think the hope is that they can take the leap. They might not go 11-2 like Michigan State did. They might not do the NFL version of that this year, but if they can get close to 500 while still building some of those pieces up, I think fans will be pretty happy with it.
And the one thing about The Athletic, and let's get this out there, you're not going to, after the games, do the normal recap that maybe the Free Press, the News, MLive, Oakland Press, will do. You could take it a step further. It's longer form. How much do you enjoy that?
I love it. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I came to The Athletic a few years ago. I was kind of wanting to get away from the typical newspaper grind, which that is a grind in its own right. No disrespect to anyone over there. But for me, it's when I was in college, that was something that my editor, Greg Bowers, who was one of my mentors, that I did mention, probably should have mentioned earlier. But he definitely steered me in that direction. You want to write stories that will differentiate you. You want to write stories that will kind of stand out. Those outside the box stories. So that's kind of what I've tried to do and what I've hoped to continue doing on the Lions beat. This past fall for Michigan State week, I wrote a story about the student newspapers playing a football game the day before the actual game. And that was one I'm really proud of. So I hope to find stories like that on the Lions beat. We'll see what comes of it. It might not always be the perfect timing if the team isn't, doing well. I get fans might not want to read an offbeat story like that, but we'll find ways to work them in along with, the film analysis that Nick and I will have, general team coverage. So we'll find a way to do it all.
Do you look at this team and say, all right, they've got to double their win total at least? Obviously, Vegas and our friends at Bet Online that sponsor the show have them at 6.5 over or under. Do you look at them and say, oh my gosh, they're definitely a 7-8 win team? Or do you say, listen, year 2 of a rebuild, it may take a little time?
No, I mean, I think it's totally fair to expect, doubling 3 wins should not be that hard. Getting to 6 and, 6.5, maybe they can get the over there. But I think that's a realistic goal for this team. they had a lot of injuries last year, especially late in season, and that team did not look the same. But they were still winning some games and, being competitive in a lot of those games, even the losses. So I think it's totally fair to kind of expect, at least a double in win total. And, I don't know if they're ready for a playoff push quite yet, but, if they get some of these young players along and keep developing those guys, the hope is that you can see that translating to the field. And, I guess we'll see what happens, but that should definitely be the goal, at least in my eyes.
Colton, is there a move or two that you have seen from afar from Brad Holmes that you really like, and an upgrade here or a move there that kind of caught your eye?
Still kind of learning the roster myself, so I don't know fully yet. But I've talked to Jordan Rodriguez, our Rams writer at The Athletic, and she's a big fan of Brad Holmes from his time over there, and she seems to be pretty confident that he'll get that thing turned around. So I'll have to pay more attention to their moves a little bit. But I think Brad Holmes has done a good job with this roster. I think going to get Jameson Williams and trading back up, he was a player I think Michigan State was in on when he was kind of deciding where to transfer after he left Ohio State. I think he probably made the right choice going to Alabama and having the season that he had there. But probably, yeah. But, he's a really exciting player. We'll see when he's able to come back. And I like that pickup a lot for them, at least, just talking draft a little bit. He's got real speed. It would have been interesting to see his 40 time, but he's got real speed. And whenever he comes back on the field, I think that's going to translate and kind of help out that offensive core, because I think he's a young player to watch for sure.
And we joked earlier about Dan Campbell, but he's got to be a beat writer's dream, or just even a feature writer's dream, because he is so open. And I'm sure there were times, especially let's say Michigan State week, or even when MSU had to go on the road to Ohio State, and it's like, gosh, you're not looking for billboard material and try to rile people up, but you obviously would love a good quote or two, and sometimes the coaches get buttoned up.
Yeah.
How frustrating, I guess, is that, and how excited are you that a lot of your questions you're going to ask Dan are probably going to be answered pretty straightforward?
Yeah, I think that's more of a general theme with the NFL versus college, that, coaches are understanding that they can share some stuff. They don't have to be so robotic. Again, Mel was probably one of the more open coaches, but at the same time, he would have liked a little bit more at times. So I think Dan Campbell seems like a pretty good quote. I'm looking forward to that. The biting kneecaps one got pretty famous last year, but I think having Hard Knocks with the Lions in training camp, that'll be pretty interesting. We'll get a good look at the team behind the scenes for sure with that footage coming out. So, covering Dan Campbell seems pretty open, seems pretty honest with the media. So that's always an added bonus when you're covering the job.
This is a very important question. Do you want to be on Hard Knocks? Are you going to wear do you have like a look? Hat, some sort of outfit? You going to try to distinguish yourself, or is Colton Pouncey more of a behind the scenes, I don't get the cameras away from me type?
I would say normally I'm more behind the scenes, but I don't know if HBO's coming to town. I might have to dress up my wardrobe a little bit.
Maybe
to spend some clothes for me so I can look good on camera. We'll see.
That's right. They got to get you some sort of swag, because it would be free promotion for them. But
absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, Colton, great to talk to you. Welcome to town. Excited to start reading your stuff in The Athletic. Big shoes to fill, certainly, with Chris and Nick, and like you said, but really looking forward to reading all of your stuff, and all the best, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You got it. There he is, Colton Pouncey, with us from The Athletic. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, follow him on Twitter at Colton_Pouncey, Pouncey. And we appreciate his time on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen, everybody, each and every day.